All right, folks, we're going to get started right now. If everyone can grab a seat, please. Good evening. It is with great pride that I welcome all of you to tonight's ceremony as we gather to celebrate the remarkable achievements of our outstanding students. Today, we honor those who have not only excelled academically, but also have demonstrated exceptional leadership and a deep commitment to serving their communities. The Superintendent Student Recognition Award is presented annually in conjunction with the Connecticut Association of Public School Superintendents. At this time, I will call up Holland Hill Principal Molly Farrell to present the first award. Thank you.
Sophia Anderson is the Holland Hill Class of 2024 Superintendent's Recognition Award winner. Sophia is an exemplary student who has become a valuable member of Holland Hill in the 2 short years she has been with us. She is well known throughout the Holland Hill community for her work ethic, respectful behavior, and contagious smile. As a member of our safety patrol, Sophia is diligent in her efforts to escort our first grade students from their classrooms to their bus each afternoon. Additionally, Sophia is a student leader on our No Place for Hate committee, where she helps lead activities to help promote inclusivity, respect, and equity. Sophia has been a consistent participant in community service activities. She contributed to our recent food drive, participated in the townwide choral festival, and she plays in the band. Outside of school, Sophia is a competitive gymnast, and she plays volleyball. Sophia, we're so proud of you.
At this time, we will call up Burr Elementary School Principal, Mr. Jason Bluestein.
On behalf of Burr's entire community, I'm proud to recognize Lily Aaron as Burr's Superintendent's Award winner. Lily is both a model student and a model citizen, a talented musician who plays both the piano and violin, a hardworking student who excels across all academic areas, and a really good human being in every way. Lily is active within both the Burr and Fairfield communities. She is a contributing member to Burr's 5th grade service club and an active member of our school's green team, working to bring attention and solutions to important environmental causes. Lily has been a Student of the Month Award winner for living our school values of understanding, respect, and responsibility, and has been recognized as a semifinalist entry for the State Invention Convention. Lily is both bilingual, fluent in both Swedish and English, and a dual citizen of America and Sweden. Congratulations, Lily.
Now I will call up Dwight Principal Mimi Maniscalco to present Dwight's award.
At Dwight, Austin Carl earned the respect from his peers and staff. Dedicated, compassionate, respectful. This list of attributes is countless. Before Austin's name was announced as the superintendent's candidate, friends were patting him on the back upon hearing the award description. They knew, which was a compliment he took humbly. Austin is not just academically talented, he's also a musician and athlete. He plays the trombone in school and guitar outside of school. Austin plays a variety of team sports, including fencing. In the civics realm, he serves on student council. Austin cares about his community and devotes his time to improving the school community. Austin is typically asked for advice and assistance because he is responsible and reliable. Peers can count on Austin to make them feel better if they make a mistake or feel lonely. Austin makes everyone feel valued. Austin has built a solid reputation as a good citizen and good friend. We are proud to have Austin Carl represent Dwight as this year's Superintendent's Award winner.
At this time, I will call up Jennings Elementary School Principal Tony Volo to present Jennings Award.
So I'm proud to have Evan Davies represent Jennings School. Evan is an exemplary representative of the Jennings fifth grade. He is a talented student, intuitive problem solver, and a kind, compassionate friend to all. Evan is a reliable and respectful leader in the Jennings School community every single day. He is a member of the student leadership team, where he utilizes his creativity to collaboratively plan and organize school assemblies. He is also a member of the safety patrol team, setting an example and assisting all students with arrival and dismissal. He can always be counted on to do the right thing and help others around him. Additionally, Evan enriches our school community musically as a member of the school band. When Evan is not in school, he's a devoted hockey player and lacrosse player. Evan makes a difference every single day. He jumps in whenever needed and never seeks out recognition. How appropriate for tonight. He's a great role model for all. Jennings School is very proud to present Evan.
At this time, I'd like to call up McKinley Elementary School Principal Christine Booth to present the McKinley Award.
Today, McKinley is thrilled to have the opportunity to boast about the recipient of the Superintendent Award. The individual being honored demonstrates exceptional involvement within community services, academic excellence, and always leads by example. She is not only an excellent addition to the Green Team and fifth grade orchestra, but is also a crucial part of the McKinley Student Council. She is a hard worker that exudes kindness and compassion to all those she encounters. She not only takes an interest within the school community, but in the surrounding community as well. In addition to playing Fairfield Youth Lacrosse and being a member of the Fairfield County Children's Choir, she has volunteered her time at the Connecticut Institute for Refugees and Immigrants, a social service organization in Bridgeport. She is an invaluable addition to the McKinley family, and we are proud to present the Superintendent Award to Maddie Kelly.
Okay, moving along, I would like to call up Mill Hill Principal, Mr. Kevin Chase, to present the Mill Hill Award.
So on behalf of the Mill Hill community, proudly present David McKenzie as the Superintendent Award recipient for us this year. Davey is an outstanding member of the Mill Hill community who embodies all the qualities of a Superintendent Award winner. He is a high academic achiever who takes his learning seriously. Davey is kind and helpful, continually going out of his way to assist peers and younger students. He is often seen encouraging students with complex learning needs to join activities or engaging them in conversation. He has a wonderful sense of humor and effortlessly interacts with those around him, especially the adults. Outside of school, Davy plays lacrosse and football, showing good sportsmanship and dedication to both. He is also a talented musician, playing the piano and trumpet. He showcases his creativity through drawing and writing. Davy was an integral part of his Odyssey of the Mind team, portraying the one and only Elvis Presley. At home, he enjoys spending time in the kitchen where he prepares fresh guacamole and homemade pasta to his family. Congratulations, Davy.
In his spare time, David does sleep once in a while. All right. Next up, I would like to call up North Stratfield Elementary Principal Louisa Wolf to present tonight's award.
North Stratfield is honored to present Maya Hall for this year's Superintendent Recognition Award. Maya Hall is a 5th grade student at NSS who has inspired us all by her work ethic and leadership skills. Maya is a role model who generally works hard and prides herself on not taking shortcuts. She personifies what it means to apply oneself to one's fullest potential. Most recently, Maya has inspired us by becoming a state finalist with her invention convention titled Moss Boss. She was also a finalist with her creative artwork for our school yearbook cover. Well liked by her peers, Maya is able to traverse friend group with ease, often being the bridge that connects them. With a warm smile and with fierce determination, Maya has a focus that is contagious and motivates others to accomplish the task at hand. I recently learned that Maya's future goals are to be a coding engineer and a professional basketball player. We have no doubt that she will achieve whatever she puts her mind to. We at NSS are proud of her innate ability to be a leader in our school. Congratulations, Maya.
At this time, I'd like to call up Osborne Hill School Principal David Hudspeth to present the award for Osborne Hill. There you go.
Osborne Hill proudly presents Henrietta Greiner as our 2024 Superintendent Award recipient. Henrietta embodies kindness, sympathy, and passion, evident in her community service initiatives aiding the homeless in New York and excelling in leadership roles at school like the CARES Council. Academically, she shines, particularly in literacy, this year securing first place in the PTA Reflections Contest in the literature category. Henrietta wrote about her time at Osborne Hill. I learned what a good leader is, and that leaders aren't just in charge, but they truly care and listen to what others in the school have to say and are kind to everyone. I grew my love of reading and writing that will stay with me in middle school and beyond. I discovered a unique community of friends, and best of all, I stayed true to myself and always treated others the way I wanted to be treated. Congratulations, Henrietta.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to call up Riverfield Principal Mary Rose Diamond to present tonight's award.
Good evening, everyone. I am very proud to introduce you to Claire O'Brien. Claire exemplifies Riverfield's core values every day. She consistently leads by example as a reliable friend, responsible classmate, and diligent student. Claire's commitment to her learning is evident in everything she does, and she always goes above and beyond. She is driven to be the best version of herself, embracing error and feedback as part of her learning process. As a member of the Riverfield Student Council, Claire holds a leadership role in decision-making and mentoring younger students. Claire has unique talents. Her invention convention project, Balloon Bracelet, was selected for the state finals. She placed second in the state for the PTA Reflections Contest in the category of photography, and she recently performed in Riverfield's production of Beauty and the Beast Jr. Outside of Riverfield, Claire is an active member of the Irish community and an avid Irish dancer, proudly performing demonstrations around the community. Claire is an exceptional young lady with a bright future in whatever she chooses to pursue. We're so proud of her.
Next, we will move along. I would like to call up Roger Sherman, Elementary School Principal, and Banner to present tonight's award.
I need to lower this. It is my distinct pleasure to honor Sherman's selection for this year's Superintendent Award. No better person than Soraya Noonan. Soraya personifies everything we look for in students: friendly, outgoing, respectful to everyone, welcoming you with her daily good morning. She's reliable and always willing to help. Academically, she takes great pride in her work, always going above and beyond. When working in teams, she'll lead by example, ensuring everyone is included. She's successful due to her work ethic, always striving to do her best, including her flawless editing and beautiful handwriting. Soraya works hard and continues to lead outside the classroom. She has served on 3 Sherman committees this year, including Student Council. She loves to cook, play soccer, and is a talented actress, having performed in many theater productions. She loves helping others, joining her family in annual holiday food drives, and she has begun tutoring a first grader in reading, who's here tonight. Soraya is truly a tremendous role model who brightens the day of others. Sherman School is so proud of everything you've accomplished, Soraya. Congratulations.
We have our first tears of the night here in the front row from Proud Mom. Okay, next I'd like to call up Fairfield Woods Middle School Principal Colleen Bannock to present tonight's award. Oh, sorry, they skipped one. We will call up Stratfield Elementary Principal Liz McGooey.
It is my absolute honor, hold on, I have to put my glasses on. It is my absolute honor to recognize Willa Fisher as this year's Stratfield School Superintendent Award winner. Not only is Willa a driven 10-year-old, but she is also kind and respectful to everyone she interacts with. Willa keeps herself occupied through various activities inside and outside of school. Each week, she assists students in the school library while helping adults with daily tasks. Setting aside time to play viola during school and honors orchestra outside of school, all while keeping up with other responsibilities, seemed to come easy to Willa. She is a member of the Girl Scouts, where she enjoys taking part in all of the activities to better our community. And I have to say, she just brought us a new Gaga pit as well, the Girl Scouts. Willa and her troop led Stratfield School in celebrating World Down Syndrome Day with a Rock Your Socks event, a very special day. Dance is also very important to Willa. She specializes in different styles and performs regularly at conventions and competitions throughout the year. All of these attributes, and certainly many more to speak to what a true leader and good person Willa is. Congratulations, Willa. We are so very proud of you. Well deserved.
Okay, now I will call up Fairfield Woods Middle School Principal Colleen Bannock to present tonight's award.
Good evening. As an involved member of our school community, Jonathan Klein is an ideal candidate for the Superintendent's Award for Woods. Jonathan was an original member of our No Place for Hate initiative and has spearheaded the work of this group for the last 2 years. He was captain for both the cross-country and track teams, was responsible for the design of the opening pages of the yearbook, and helps other students 3 mornings a week as a tech helper in our library media center. Outside of school, he balances work from Merkaz while distinguishing himself through his volunteer work at the Audubon Center and his leadership in the Boy Scouts National Youth Leader Training Course, for which he is an instructor. Always a goal setter, Jonathan plans to begin his journey towards Eagle Scout next year. We are proud to have Jonathan at Woods and congratulate him on this recognition.
Next up to the podium, I'd like to ask up Roger Ludlow Middle School Principal Meg Tiley.
I do just need to say to the Fairfield Public Schools, thank you for continuing this tradition. It is awesome to see the greatness in this room, particularly our feeder schools and those that have gone on from Roger Ludlow Middle School. So I love this event. Now, on to celebrate Mr. Donovan Joyce. On behalf of Roger Ludlow Middle School, Mrs. Shaughnessy and Mrs. Cerny, who are here joining me tonight, Roger Ludlow Middle School is most proud to present Donovan Joyce with the Superintendent Award this year. Donovan has been a role model for his peers during his 3 years at RLMS. Academically, Donovan is a hardworking student that values his education and puts forth his best effort in everything he does. He sets high goals for himself and puts in the effort to do what it takes to achieve these goals. Donovan has been recognized as an RLMS Citizenship Award winner, and he's also been a member of the golf and, I'm going to add this, Donovan, undefeated basketball teams, helping to bring victory in our championships. Outside of school, Donovan is a talented soccer player. In addition to his academic and athletic excellence, Donovan also participates in our school orchestra and chorus. Donovan has given back to his community in many ways, from helping with his family, school, and his neighborhood. He is always there to lend a helping hand with a smile. Please join us in congratulating Donovan on this well-deserved honor.
Next up, I'd like to call up Tomlinson Middle School Principal, Mr. Anthony Fermato.
You know, Ms. Tiley, it's not a competition. I'm joined by Mrs. McVeigh, the 8th grade school counselor. We're here to honor Aaron Joseph. Aaron Joseph is one of a kind. He's a true role model at Tomlinson Middle School. Throughout his 3 years at Tomlinson, Aaron's exemplary accomplishments truly show his commitment to academics, music, and leadership. His passion for learning is a driving force in being a responsible, disciplined, and resilient student. Besides being chosen for Student of the Month, Aaron also participated in our Men of Color in Leadership Conference, as well as monthly meetings with the principal, me. Outside of school, Aaron is part of the welcoming team and volunteers with his church. In his free time, he studies piano. He's an athlete on the Pisces swimming team. His outstanding accomplishments and positive influence have made an undeniable impact on the TMS community and the world around him. Congratulations, Aaron Joseph.
This time, I'd like to call up Fairfield High School Walter Fitzgerald Campus Principal Amanda Couric.
It is my pleasure to nominate Faith Hart as the recipient of the Superintendent's Award for Walter Fitzgerald Campus. Faith came to us 3 years ago, and the growth we have seen over these past 3 years is nothing short of remarkable. She is brave, strong, creative, passionate, and truly an authentic person. From her incredible outfits to her passion for all animals, she never shies away from being exactly who she feels she is meant to be. She is not afraid to speak up for herself and for others, and is as resilient as they come. We have been so lucky to watch the amazing, flourishing woman that is Faith Hart, and are looking forward to seeing all of the incredible things she does in this world. She is very deserving of this award, and her presence will truly be missed at Walter Fitzgerald campus.
Okay, at this time, we'll move on to our high schools. First up will be Fairfield Ludlow High School, Warner House.
Good evening. I have the honor of introducing Campbell. Campbell truly embodies the spirit of our Falcons acronym values: fellowship, acceptance, learning, commitment, opportunity, niche, and success. As an outstanding representative of these principles, he has consistently demonstrated his dedication not only as an Eagle Scout in the community, but also through his passionate involvement with the FLHS stage crew and leadership in revolving the Model UN Club. Additionally, his contributions to the school newspaper, The Prospect, have enriched and enhanced our school community's dialogue. His academic pursuits, deeply influenced by his school social studies teachers, show his enthusiasm for embracing diverse perspectives and committing community engagement. When asked what he is most looking forward to at Bowdoin College, Campbell replied, "I'd like to learn how to engage more deeply in the community." We're in good hands. We're in good hands. As Campbell prepares for college, we celebrate his remarkable contributions to the FLHS community and the inspiring path he continues to chart. Congratulations, Campbell.
Now we will move on to Fairfield Ludlow High School, Webster House.
Good evening. I want to thank Mr. Sean Colley, Warner House Principal, for announcing Campbell. On behalf of Webster House, Dr. Greg Pugliese, the Webster House Principal, is representing our school at another award ceremony tonight, the FCAC Scholar Leader Banquet in New Canaan. And the recipient of the Webster House Superintendent's Award, Genevieve Cantor, had an opportunity to complete her senior experience in Europe. So we let her go and excuse her for tonight. But because it's on TV and can be recorded for mom and dad, I'm going to read her, Dr. Pugliese's speech. Genevieve Cantor recently received the prestigious Presidential Scholarship for Villanova University, where she will be attending this fall. The goal of the scholarship is to cultivate transformational leaders. The selection process includes evaluating candidates based on academic excellence, civic involvement, creativity, resilience, leadership, and a vision for the future. Certainly, if Villanova thought so, so did we. Genevieve fits these criteria perfectly. At Ludlow, she has pursued rigorous coursework, participated in the aquaculture program, and has taken on increasingly demanding leadership service roles in the community. Genevieve founded the Save the Children Club, advocating at various community events. She serves as secretary of the National English Honor Society at FLHS and is treasurer of the Future Farmers of America at Aquaculture. Beyond school, Genevieve is deeply engaged in local initiatives, co-leading the Community Service Club and chairing the Educational Committee at the local community center. Additionally, she chairs the Longevity and Data Analysis Committee for the Fairfield Equity Coalition. In summary, Genevieve is diligent, incredibly intelligent, and future-focused. Thank you.
This time I'd like to call up Fairfield Ludlow High School House Principal, Wright House, Barry Rabin.
Thank you. For those reading along, I just have to preface this by saying that according to Matt Sutton, Connor's school counselor, this is the cute version of the speech. But truly, there are not enough words to describe how incredible Connor is. So I went ahead and talked about some of my favorite memories instead. Ninth grade, Connor proposed a new student leadership system, which became instrumental in revamping our Falcon Council. Fast forward. In the library, as Connor was honored by local state representatives, his sisters were completely surprised by everything he had been up to. And they looked at me and smiled and said, "Did you know?" And I said, "Yeah, I did." I was approving his independent study and learning about his summer work and passion for service to the environment, which happened to be at Harvard University. And then I got to watch the confirmation hearing to formalize his role as a State of Connecticut Student Board of Education representative. It's on YouTube if you want to watch it. But I also remember Connor's smile when he walked into our house office one morning to share his acceptance to Harvard. And then when he won the very exclusive Coca-Cola Scholar Award. And then again, a week later, when he was one of 2 recipients nationally of the Bruce Fishkin Scholarship. But one of my favorite memories of Connor recently is him giggling as he took home the extra cookies at the end of prom just a couple of weeks ago, waiting for our permission to do so. I am a better educator and person having worked with Connor for these last 4 years. Congrats, Connor.
All right, I'm going to call up Fairfield Ward High School, Fitz House Principal Kurt Simonson, joined by Head Principal Paul Cavana.
Good evening. My name is Paul Cavana. I have the great privilege of being the principal here at Fairfield Ward High School, and I'm honored to acknowledge Hannah Pressman along with Superintendent Testani and House Principal Kurt Simonson. Hannah is a proud member of Fitz House, whose work ethic, excitement for learning, and creativity set her apart from her peers. She works tirelessly in pursuit of her passions, placing learning and service above all else. Hannah's academic achievements includes members in 5 honor societies, earning the Seal of Biliteracy, being a PTA reflection winner, and maintaining high honors as a scholar in 9 AP classes and 12 honors courses. In addition, she is the proud valedictorian of Fairfield Ward High School, class of 2024. Thank you. Well, thank her. Beyond academics, Hannah dedicates extensive time to various interests. She is the president of and founder of the Ward Book Club, a member of the debate team, drama club, a cappella group. Additionally, she serves as managing director and graphic artist of the Youth Artist Project, created the Jennings Elementary Theater Program, and has directed, written, and choreographed and acted in over 9 plays. Hannah also works as an ESL tutor and holds multiple jobs. Her school counselor, Ms. Johnson, remarks, Hannah's accomplishments and accolades pale in comparison to her strength of character. While she is tireless in the pursuit of excellence in her classroom, she is equally committed to bringing people together. Hannah will continue her studies at Williams College next fall. Please join me in congratulating her for receiving the Superintendent's Award recognition. I am also proud to welcome Jonah Bass Lawrence, accompanied by his house principal, Mrs. Heather O'Brien. Jonah is an exceptional student and he's accomplished musician and athlete. He excelled in 5 AP courses, multivariate calculus, maintaining a perfect academic record with no grade lower than an A-. Jonah is highly engaged in his classroom, consistently staying on top of his work and making meaningful contributions. In addition to his academic achievements, Jonah is an active participant in our music program, having been a member of the Winds Ensemble for 2 years. He also shines as an athlete, serving as captain of the Fairfield Ward High School basketball team and leader on the soccer team. Jonah leads drills, sets the tone on the field and the court, and he is a role model for his teammates. He supports his teammates by providing rides to practice, volunteering at the Wakeman Boys and Girls Club through mentoring and coaching, additionally giving back to the community by being an active participant in Operation Hope. Jonah's dedication and leadership have recognized him as a Connecticut Association of Schools Scholar Leader Award. Mr. Johnson, his school counselor, observes, Jonah is quiet, steady, reliable, and organized. He is respected by his peers and staff, and has a high set of standards he sets for himself. He is measured by his words and actions, has a great sense of calmness, and is a patient young man. His strong sense of planning, preparation, and thoughtfulness causes those around him to respect him and makes them better people. I am confident that he will excel at his next level and continue to be calm and confident. Jonah will attend University of Wisconsin College of Engineering in the fall. Please join me in congratulating him on this distinguished award. And last but not least, I'd like to ask Jessica Vora and House Principal Steve Feckety to join me by the podium. It is with great pleasure that we acknowledge the exceptional qualities and achievements of Jessica. Jessica is a proud member of Townsend House, and throughout her academic journey, she has showcased remarkable academic prowess, exemplary leadership, and a profound commitment to serve her community. Jessica's dedication to her studies is evident in her rigorous coursework, which includes 12 AP classes and a remarkable GPA. She consistently pushes herself beyond her comfort zone, working relentlessly on academic excellence. Her engagement in behavioral economics research, alongside a professor of finance for the University of Illinois, reflects her profound interest in mathematics and economics, highlighting her intellectual curiosity and acumen. Jessica's music talent as a distinct viola player in the chamber orchestra and greater youth orchestra further exemplifies her dedication and versatility. Her commitment to community service is demonstrated through her volunteer work at St. Vincent's Hospital, underscoring her compassion and desire to impact those around her. Jessica's school counselor, Miss Jerkowitz, notes, she is an amazing student who I've known for 4 years. She's compassionate, conscientious, and brilliant. She strives to make life better for others. A humble student, she has challenged herself academically in ways that most students would envy. Jessica will be attending Johns Hopkins University in the fall. Please join me in congratulating her on this distinguished award.
The CABE Student Leadership Award Program is designed to honor Connecticut high school and middle school students who exhibit exemplary leadership skills. 2 students from each of our schools in a CABE member district are eligible to receive the CABE Student Leadership Award. Leadership skills should include willingness to take on challenges, capability to make difficult decisions, concern for others, ability to work with others, the willingness to commit to a project and see it through, diplomacy, the ability to understand complex issues clearly, and the ability to honor a commitment. At this time, I'd like to call up Fairfield Woods Middle School Principal again, Colleen Bannock, to present her awards.
Hello again. For our first CABE Award winner, I'd like to introduce Erin Torpy, just to my left. Erin is a focused student who sets goals and then makes plans to exceed them. In school, Erin takes part in our stage crew and school newspaper and names all of her classes her favorites. As an editor in the newspaper club, Erin has shown herself to be a leader for her younger classmates, helping to guide their writing with patience along with kind and constructive feedback. Outside of school, Erin volunteers in kindergarten at Jennings with some of our youngest learners, as well as at a local farm, where she lets her love of animals shine as she takes care of the farm's chickens, goats, horses, and sheep. And it should be no surprise to you that Erin has been accepted into the Trumbull Agri-Science program and is excited to begin her journey toward a veterinary career. We are so proud to have Erin represent Woods as a CABE recipient this year. Congratulations. Our next award winner, to Erin's left, Amelia Zimmerman-Soria. Amelia Zimmerman-Soria is deserving of the CABE Award as a well-rounded student at Fairfield Woods. She consistently sets lofty goals for herself and demonstrates a high degree of respect for others in our community. At a time when it can be easier to maintain a focus on yourself, Amelia is a friend who can be counted on, sometimes becoming the mouthpiece when friends require support and advocacy. Amelia plays violin in the FWMS orchestra and prides herself on staying active. Some favorite sports are baseball, where she plays shortstop and second base, and rock climbing with friends. She is excited to play sports at Ludlow High School this coming fall and to become part of a school team, as well as to explore the myriad of high school elective courses offered. Amelia embodies the tenet that with hard work comes success. Congratulations to Amelia on this award.
Okay, I'd like to call up Meg Tiley again from Roger Ludlow Middle School to present the CABE Awards.
Mr. Formato, we will take you on in a game of Gaga Ball at Mill Hill when this is over. And Liam, you're going to be going first. I had gotten you guys out of order. So Liam, RLMS is proud to present Liam Laughlin with the CABE Student Leadership Award. Liam meets and far surpasses the criteria for this award. Academically, has maintained an A average throughout all 3 years. He actively participates in class discussions, shares insights, and is always willing to help others. Liam contributes to our school community as an accomplished musician. Liam auditioned and was selected as a trombone player in the regional jazz band and was invited to play with the high school jazz lab. He has been a member of our tour band and chamber choir. Liam participates in the RLMS drama productions, playing the lead role in High School Musical this year. Liam is a member of our GSA club, always supporting and serving as a role model for all the members. Outside of school, Liam is a competitive swimmer, qualifying this year for his age groups in the 50 butterfly. Please join the RLMS team in congratulating Liam for this well-deserved honor. I'm going to let you go. All right, on to our second recipient, Allegra Early. Roger Ludlow Middle School is proud to present Allegra Early with the CABE Student Leadership Award. The staff at RLMS could not think of a more deserving student than Allegra. Allegra demonstrates kindness, leadership, and dedication every day. At RLMS, Allegra has been an active member of our Student Leadership Club. She has helped organize numerous fundraising events to support others. Some examples of these initiatives have been raising funds for the Norma Frame Breast Cancer Center, World Central Kitchen's effort to feed those in Ukraine, and MS awareness, just to name a few. In the classroom, Allegra is an active participant in her learning. She can always be found participating, helping others, and setting high goals for herself. Allegra has been recognized with the RLMS Citizenship Award in both 6th and 8th grade. Please join the RLMS team in congratulating Allegra for this well-deserved honor.
Okay. Mr. Formato, you want to come up and say a few words to Ms. Tiley before we begin?
It's too high. I don't know about Gaga Ball, but if it's bocce, I'm in. All right. Grace LePage. We are proud to present Gracie with this award. She has demonstrated a willingness to take on challenges, has a strong work ethic, shows concern for others, is responsible and caring, and honors her commitments. Her passion for academics and her leadership within the TMS community have garnered her Student of the Month awards, as well as a virtually flawless grades and impressive respect from the community. Gracie is a remarkable young woman, and Tomlinson is honored to present her with this award as recognition of our overwhelming pride in who she has become, and we wish her the best of luck in her future endeavors. Congratulations, Gracie. Sophia Hardiman. Sophia demonstrates leadership through her actions, being respectful to all, showing kindness and patience with her peers. Sophia strives for excellence both inside and outside of school, maintaining an A+ average in her classes. Sophia plays soccer and basketball on various teams. As captain of our TMS basketball team, she helped coach the younger players and encouraged her teammates to keep trying even after a tough loss. Sophia enjoys music, playing the trombone in the TMS band and jazz bands. In addition, she plays the drums and even taught herself to play guitar. Sophia is part of the TMS Gifted and Talented program, which she credits for helping to improve her public speaking to think outside the box. She is most proud of receiving an award for outstanding performance as an expert witness in the mock trial competitions. Sophia is truly a leader in our TMS community. Congratulations, Sophia.
Okay, at this time I'd like to call back up Dr. Greg Hatzis, Mr. Sean Colley, and Ms. Barry Rabin to present the awards for the CABE awards to Fairfield Ludlow High School students.
Thank you, Mr. Testani. Grace. First, we'd love to recognize Grace Coyne. As co-captain and one of the star witnesses of the mock trial team, Grace would make child's play of the opposing team's questions, skillfully posing her answers to support the Ludlow team's winning case, time and time again. Grace shows her sense of community in supporting younger students, volunteering to mentor the middle school honors band students, coaching new mock trial members, and giving advice to underclassmen in their courses. As the Vice President of External Affairs on the Model UN team, Grace helped earn the Best Small Delegation Award at the Global Citizen Conference in New York City, which Ludlow participated for the first time. With a 4.5 GPA in AP classes in Modern European Government, U.S. History, Comparative Government, U.S. Government, and French, she's the recipient of the Mount Holyoke Book Award, the Civics First Mock Trial Best Witness, the Dartmouth Model UN Outstanding Delegate, Seal of Biliteracy, and the National Merit Commended Scholar. Grace is poised to be a leader at Smith College next year, where she'll be studying classical history and archaeology. Arushi, come on up. Next we have Arushi Malarapu. Every morning during homeroom, every student at Ludlow enjoys hearing Arushi share the latest school updates during announcements. But besides being president of the National Honor Society, taking 11 AP courses, earning a 4.4 GPA, Arushi also sings in Ludlow's highest level performing choirs. She became a trained No Place for Hate mentor with the Anti-Defamation League and was co-captain at another star witness on our mock trial team. Outside of school, Arushi became the youngest ever volunteer to pass the NR-EMTB process in the Easton Volunteer EMS unit. She earned the Seal of Biliteracy in Hindi. In the summers when many students might be hanging out at the beach or pool, Arushi served as an intern with the Nobel Prize laureate Dr. William Kalin, Roger Ludlow grad, researching renal cell carcinoma and studied at the Weill Cornell Medicine Lab, learning techniques related to DNA, RNA, protein isolation, immunocytochemistry, and situ hybridization. Arushi will be studying neuroscience and bioethics at New York University next year. Congratulations.
Okay, last but not least, I'd like to call up Mr. Cavanna and his team to celebrate our last award recipients from Fairfield Ward High School.
I'm very honored to acknowledge Phoebe Marsick. Phoebe is being recognized at the CADE Leadership Award. Over the past 4 years, I've witnessed Phoebe's remarkable dedication and leadership in various capacities. Her unwavering commitment to her community is evident through her involvement in many initiatives such as Varsity Girls Soccer Team and the Unity Coalition, where she champions inclusivity and advocacy and a positive change for all. Phoebe embraces challenges with enthusiasm, demonstrating a willingness to tackle difficult tasks and a deep concern for the well-being of others. She possesses a remarkable ability to understand complex issues and approach them with empathy and determination. Her steadfast commitment to honoring her obligations and promises is commendable, and it sets her apart as a true leader. Phoebe's school counselor, Ms. Shagnon, observes, "I've had the pleasure of working with Phoebe as her school counselor for the last 3.5 years. She has consistently impressed me with how much she dedicates herself to her community. Phoebe is passionate about the Ward community, whether it is working with the soccer team or collaborating with her peers to make Ward a better place. It has been wonderful to watch her and recognize the importance that she's leaving Fairfield Ward High School. Phoebe will be attending Tufts University in the fall. Please join me in congratulating her." Our last award recipient, Sean Barron, could not make it tonight, but I would still like to recognize him publicly. He's joined by, we are also here with his house principal, Mrs. Heather O'Brien. Sean is a rare student who doesn't only do well, but it does good. His dedication to academics, athletics, and his volunteer work is astounding. Sean is an exceptional student displaying maturity, responsibility, and the depth throughout his time at Fairfield Ward High School. He inspires those around him to improve himself, and staff members rely on him to improve the positive behavior of others. One of the most impressive aspects of Sean's character is his extensive involvement in volunteering opportunities. Due to his dedication, he is being awarded the Presidential Volunteer Service Award through Scholar Athletes, serving as an important member of Operation Hope. Soccer has also been a significant part of Sean's journey, elected captain by his coaches and teammates. Sean excels at listening to others' ideas, creating an environment that fosters camaraderie, and completing tasks efficiently. His school counselor, Miss Curley, observes, "I've had the honor of being Sean's school counselor since his sophomore year, and it has been able to forge a close relationship with him. His dedication to his academics, athletics, and volunteer work is astounding." Sean will be attending Indiana University in the fall. Please join me in honoring him for this prestigious award. Thank you.
Good evening. So another added addition to the program tonight was honoring our district's National Merit Scholar winners this year. And so first I'm going to reintroduce Campbell Treshuk, who you heard earlier Mr. Colley speak about. A few extras about Campbell real quickly. Besides being in the National Math and History Honor Societies, he was the Brandeis University Book Award, as the editor of the Prospect newspaper, He articled 33 different pieces and was awarded first place for the 2023 for journalism at the Connecticut Press Club High School Award Contest. He was also a Silver Key and Honorable Mention winner for journalism entries to the Hudson to the Housatonic 2024 Scholastic Writing Competition. He's a part of the 4-H organization as a committee chair, treasurer, public speaking state finalist, and received a Citizen Medal. He's an avid hiker, including the Appalachian Trail, political intern, and contributed to multiple conservation endeavors, such as the Biodiversity Project at Ash Creek for the Yukon Conservation Training Partnership. Also, as the stage left deck captain for our spring musical, he was a big part of the epic event of making it rain on stage at our Ludlow musical, Singin' in the Rain. So Campbell, great job. And real quickly, I'll just announce the other two winners. Spencer Bradley, besides being a National Merit Scholar finalist, Cornell Book Award winner, AP Scholar with Distinction, sealed by Literacy in Spanish, member of the National Honor Society, taking 10 AP courses. He was the recipient of the very prestigious CIAC Scholar Athlete Award. And the reason is because as a baseball player, he was all FCAC East as a junior, first team all FCAC as a senior, compiled a 6-0 record this year, undefeated, a .485 ERA with 59 strikeouts in 43 innings. That does not include earlier today, Spencer's pitched 6 innings as Ludlow won 2-1 in their first round of the state final game. They won 2-1. Spencer struck out 8 in 6 innings. So, and he plays the trumpet, by the way, and he was a junior and senior CMEA Western Regional finalist and a CMEA All-State recipient as a senior. So thank you, Spencer. Yes. And finally, our third National Merit winner, Natalie Compare, was the President's Volunteer Service Gold Award with the AmeriCorps Corporation for 3 years, AP Scholar with Distinction, taking multiple AP and ECE courses, 11. She's a U.S. Presidential Scholar, recipient of the Bowdoin Book Award, National Honor Society and multiple Subject Honor Society member, sealed by Literacy in Spanish, singer of our a cappella group, an accomplished ballet performer at the Connecticut Dance School, where she is a mainstay volunteer in encouraging students with disabilities and developmental delays serving to participate in dance as equal parts dance instructor, cheerleader, and inspiration. And finally, she took a huge leap of faith this fall in joining our musical version of Singin' in the Rain as an ensemble member and a featured dancer. Her first musical, she did a great job performing there. So Natalie Compare, thank you.
As we conclude tonight's ceremony, I just want to say for a moment, and if you haven't noticed, we spend a lot of time as adults teaching, guiding, counseling our children so they can grow up to be successful members of our community. I think it's safe to say we could probably learn a lesson from tonight's recipients now. So big round of applause for all our students and their amazing accomplishments. You are all welcome to stay for the Board of Education meeting that's about to begin in about 15 minutes. I guess no takers on that.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the May 28th, 2024 Board of Education regular meeting. Call to order of the meeting. With us this evening is Mr. Krasnoff, Mr. Lee, Mrs. Flynn, myself, Mrs. Jacobson, Mr. Asa, Mrs. Maxon-Kennelly, Mr. Peterson, and Mrs. Rinaldi, as well as Superintendent Testani. If everyone could please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Mrs. Rinaldi, will you start us, please? Thank you. Before moving on to public comment this evening, we do have a special recognition, and unless there is objection with the board, I'm going to move that before all of the public comment we're anticipating. I'm joking, if that's okay with everyone, just because the families are sitting here, and it would be lovely for us to recognize them on the heels of our award ceremony. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Testani.
Thank you. Tonight I'd like to recognize two special students from McKinley School who last week during an accident that occurred in the community, as you all may have heard, there was a bus accident involving another student. These two students, fifth graders at McKinley School, were on the bus and they immediately sprung into action, not only to move students from the front of the bus to the rear of the bus so that they can be shielded from what was happening outside of the bus, but also to be the calming voice to much younger students that were visibly upset because they saw something happen to one of their friends and classmates. So I want to recognize tonight Mr. Brian Hitchko and Miss Madeline Kelly for their heroic efforts in jumping into action and thinking about others before themselves. So tonight, they are here today with their families, and I'd like to bring them up for a big round of applause and a huge, huge thank you from the Fairfield Public School community.
Congratulations to you both, and thank you so much for all of your help on that critical day. Thank you. Bye, everybody. All right, moving on to public comment. If there's anyone that would like to provide public comment on any of our agenda items this evening, now is the time that you can come forward to do so. All right, moving on to our first order of business this evening, approval of educator and leader evaluation plan. Recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the educator and leader evaluation plan. May I have a motion, please? Mr. Lee, seconded by Mrs. Flynn. Is there any discussion or any questions? Mrs. Maxon-Kennelly.
Yes, thank you. As I indicated previously, this isn't a plan that I can support. I recognize and appreciate all the changes and most especially all the work that went into it. But to have a plan that has no explicit reference to the gathering of reaction from those with whom you work most closely, whether it is teachers having as part of the plan, the explicit gathering of feedback, not just data points, not just testing, but feedback from students, administrators gathering it from the teachers whom they evaluate, central office gathering it from, the administrators they oversee. But without that as an explicit part of this plan, now granted, it was very flawed in how it was included in the previous plan, but the idea that it was included, I respected enormously. And so lacking that, while I appreciate, again, all the work that went into it, but I will not be supporting this plan.
Thank you, Mrs. Maxon-Kennelly. Anyone else for discussion or questions? No? Okay. Back to the board. Is there any public comment on this item before we vote? All right, back to the board. All in favor? Mr. Krasnoff, Mr. Lee, Mrs. Flynn, myself, Mrs. Jacobson, Mr. Asa, Mr. Peterson, and Mrs. Rinaldi. Opposed? Mrs. Maxon Kennelly, abstentions. Motion passes 7-1. Okay. Next item, adoption of policy 4115.3, certified evaluation, termination, and non-renewal of athletic coaches. Recommended motion that the Board of Education adopt policy 4115.3, certified evaluation, termination, and non-renewal of athletic coaches. Can I get a motion, please? Mrs. Maxon Kennelly, seconded by Mr. Asa. Any questions or discussion on this item?
I received no questions, so I don't know if there are any here at the table.
Okay. Back to the, I don't think there's anyone in the public, but I will offer. All right, back to the board. All in favor? Motion, okay, so I will call it out. Mr. Krasnoff, Mr. Lee, Mrs. Flynn, Mrs. Jacobson, Mr. Asa, Mrs. Maxon Kennelly, Mrs. Rinaldi. Opposed? Mr. Peterson? Motion passes 7-1. All right, moving on to our next item. I'm actually pretending to hold the button on this microphone. Wow. Okay, adoption of policy 4115-4215, appointment and condition of employment evaluation. Recommended motion that the Board of Education adopt policy 4115-4215, appointment and conditions of employment evaluation. Can I get a motion, please? Mr. Krasnoff, seconded by Mrs. Maxon Kennelly. Any questions or discussion? Back to the public, back to the board. All in favor? Motion passes 8-0. Next item, discussion and postponement of adoption of policy 6151, class size. Recommended motion that the Board of Education postpone the adoption of policy 6151, class size, until the policy committee returns the policy to the board for adoption or as a revised first read. Can I get a motion, please? Mr. Krasnoff, seconded by Mrs. Rinaldi. I'll turn this over to you, Mrs. Maxon Kennelly, if you like.
Sure. So I hope everyone had a chance to read the memo that I included with your backup, as well as some of the language ideas of your fellow board members. Essentially what this comes down to is I don't think it's should be the role of the policy committee while we do we do the legwork, we do the wordsmithing, we do the research, but on something like this where truly the work of 3 people is intended to be something voted on by 9, we took the suggestions of 4 board members at our previous policy meeting and attempted to wrestle with them. Actually, it was just the 2 of us, right? So it was just Mrs. Jacobson and myself. And it just did not seem appropriate that 2 of us should be making a decision for the 9-member board. You know, there are a lot of things where we're willing to do that, but we shouldn't be someone who's blocking. And if, in fact, there was something that Mrs. Jacobson and I were not in favor of, but a majority of the board was, we are setting it up for extensive amending at the board table. And that is what and of course, no part of this discussion and no part of policy is intended to block anyone from bringing forward amendments if they choose, but we really did want to do the work in policy of having this be as final a draft as possible. We brought, and I asked, and I thank Mrs. Brown for including for you again, the policy as it was voted out of the policy committee. As I mentioned at the meeting where we last discussed this, that involved a lot of give and take. It involved not one of the 3 of us being resoundingly happy with the final version, but that was the nature of the compromise. And so that's what we brought before you. But if you look at the memo, enclosure number 2, I tried to detail out for you 1 through 5 the issues that we were hoping to have some discussion on. Because it is on those issues that Mrs. Jacobson and I did not feel comfortable making the decisive vote, 2 members in policy committee. So those 5 issues were, again, the timing of or the existence of collapsing, especially after the start of school, how far in advance to expand a section, whether or not that grade is yet at the limit, whether or not to expand a section past the first day of school and what the timing for that should be, the degree of discretion for our superintendent in expanding and collapsing, and then finally number 5, the issue of with the additional 1.0 FTE para, followed by the hiring of a teacher dedicated to just the specific overcap class or to be used by the grade or a combination of the 2. So those were the 5 issues, again, that Mrs. Jacobson and I were wrestling with. There are, as you can see, there are 3 additional points that we at some point talked about, but we didn't bring those, any changes forward with those. And so now what we're hoping to do, I did include the amendment language that had been brought by Mrs. Flynn, Mr. Krasnoff, Mr. Lee, and Ms. Rinaldi. I do want to be clear, I'm not looking to debate those. Again, that was my idea. The board can do as it will since we just passed a motion to have this discussion. I wasn't trying to encourage us to do the work of wrestling with those amendments, because that issue will come when we resolve where we want to go with these 5 points. Once you know these 5 points, we'll have our marching orders, and then we'll take a look and see which amendment language works and which doesn't. But there's no point in wrestling with amendment language until we decide where we stand as a board on these 5 issues. That all made perfect sense to me, but I've been living with this and working with this a good bit longer than most of you. So again, at this point, we want to have discussion, and then at certain points, we will want to get a sense of the body on how we move forward with some of these points.
Mrs. Rinaldi.
I just want to say that I greatly appreciate postponing this and all of the work that you have put in. I have grappled with this and thought of language and, worked through this. So I appreciate you delineating this out. I think this is superb, and I think this is a good idea to really think about for the entire board. It's very significant and important. So I just want to say how much I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mrs. Maxon-Kennelly, just to clarify, would you like board members to weigh in on any of the 5 that they would at this point?
Well, I didn't want to presume to direct the conversation. I didn't know if we wanted any general discussion first, or if we should start simply by going 1 through 5 down the line.
If anyone has thoughts on 1 through 5, it might just help streamline, or general comments are good too. Just wanted to get a focus from you. Any other board members? Mr. Asa.
I will say, with regard to the timing, I believe that the way it was worded in the original proposal from the policy committee is acceptable to me. So I don't feel a need to change that. With regard to this idea of expanding in advance, and I know Mr. Krasnoff submitted some language here. If it's okay, I just read it. At the elementary school level, when a specific school's grade enrollment was within 2 students of the cap at a particular school, within 2 weeks prior to the opening of the school year, another class section will be created. I understand the intent of that. However, I do have a lot of reservation on that. I believe that we do have fluctuation in those last few weeks leading up. Some more at some schools than others, but I'm just feeding into Mrs. Maxon-Kennelly's idea here of giving my feedback. I'm a little hesitant on that. And then with regard to the additional 1.0 FTE para and then a teacher, I understand what Mr. Lee is saying. However, I really feel that we as a board shouldn't be dictating to the administrators at the school how to use that staffing. And we discussed this a little bit at the previous meeting, but I would be hesitant to put a specificity on that part. So that's where I'm at with that.
So can I just ask a clarifying question, Ms. Raisa? So on number 5, supportive of the 1.0 FTE, but not having any language on how it's, or to whom it would be allocated?
Well, in the way in which you presented it originally.
Oh, okay, so.
I support that.
Okay, original. Okay, thank you. Mr. Lee.
I think when it comes to, we're talking about class size, if it's overcrowding, I'm all for, I don't want to dictate what the administrator does, but in this case, to solve the overcrowding and some of the concerns of the parents that we've been told they're concerned about, it just makes sense that if it's an overcrowding situation, an extra pair of hands in that class is needed, to then take that extra pair of hands away from that overcrowded class defeats the purpose of why we're even talking about overcrowding, right? The support is needed in that overcrowding class. If they sort it out, I am not saying that the administrator shouldn't make a decision on what to do with that person after, but as long as that class is overcrowded, it is important they get that extra support within that class and that grade.
Thank you. Mrs. Flynn.
Thank you for the policy committee in resubmitting this in this structure. So just to speak to it, I'm going to kind of break it up. But the amendment or the policy as submitted, I had some concerns with that language actually that were kind of spoken about at the policy committee meeting in the reading of it. The class sizes shall not exceed 23, and the superintendent shall make all decisions on expansion collapse based on staff and space availability as of the end of the first day of classes. I read that as not only was there no collapsing after, but there was no expansion. And when we couple that with hiring a 1.0 teacher, I had reservations about not allowing for a class to be expanded in as I read that language. So I want to just start with that. In the amendment that I submitted, I found my intent was really to be proactive in that same line of thinking. That if we are going to, in policy, enshrine that we are going to be hiring a 1.0 teacher, then why not move that process up and give our administration the ability to do that prior to the start of the school year and open up a new section? I really appreciate other board members wanting to give our administration the flexibility to do that, but I do want to put some parameters. I explicitly said this in the policy that I submitted. I would not want to see any collapsing of class sections for elementary after the first day of school. I think that academically there is nothing enhancing in doing that, and we have actually seen some tremendous negative impacts of that in Fairfield in the past 3 to 4 years that has happened. I just want to make sure that I go over all pieces of this, so excuse me as I... But I did state in the policy committee meeting, I do think that we do have different, as Mr. Asa alluded to, schools that we see more enrollment throughout the year that is more predictable. So I tried as hard as possible to capture that language that would give our administration more adaptability to expand class sizes rather than hire a 1.0 teacher and use them as an aid across the grade level, and instead just open the new section in advance of knowing that you're going to get there anyway. So instead of having 25, 25, 26, we have those 4 class sections ready to go at the start of the year, and our administration, while trying to scramble and hire a 1.0 teacher, which we heard very big concerns about, we're giving them the flexibility to do that in August and get our kids ready to go on the first day of school, and our staff. Instead of having to move buildings and patch holes, let's build them, you know, the steady house from the first day of school. So that was my intent with my, the amendment that I proposed, and I'm willing, that's where I'm at with the 5.
Thank you, Mrs. Flynn. Mr. Krasnoff.
So I'm kind of going to elaborate on what Ms. Flynn just touched upon and the amendments provided by Ms. Flynn and Ms. Rinaldi. We all seem to want to be a little bit proactive in terms of being able to hire quality teachers. We have been told by Mr. Testani that the more time that we have, the better quality of teacher that we can find. So I would prefer to give him a 2-week notice to allow for us to hire a proper teacher. And in my thought process with the 2 from the cap is that it is mainly a few schools. And if you look, those few schools do tend to go over cap as the school year progresses. So we are being proactive in doing something that inevitably we probably should have done anyway. And that's really where my thought process was. Thank you.
Mr. Asa?
Yeah, with regard to that point, Mr. Krasnoff, of course, you're very well versed in facilities now. In some of those schools that we see those fluctuations, do you worry about proactively, quote, proactively, creating a new section, yet not having the space for it?
Of course, that is always a concern. If there was not space, I would assume Mr. Testani would bring that up to the board and for discussion of a space issue. The last thing we want to do is create a space issue. So I guess that would be a case-by-case basis. But at least we would have the option in front of us with this policy to evaluate that on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, so my fear with that is that you have that situation, and the way I'm understanding it is if this is in policy, then the superintendent would have to bring it to the board. And now the board is making these decisions at the granular level, which is not something we've done.
Well, my hope, and not to get too far ahead of ourselves, is that we come up with a proper facilities plan in the next month or so that would prevent any issues coming to pass in the future. Our hope in the facilities committee is to alleviate stress in some of the schools.
Mrs. Lynn?
Can I ask I guess my concern, and I really appreciate what Mr. Asa is saying, because we know that some of our buildings that have, 3-4 sections are dealing with space issues. We have schools that, have band on a stage or OT, PT. We hear those stories. So I want to give, that is not an unreal concern. But I guess that's also my other piece of it, is that if we need more sections, I mean, Mr. Testani spoke about this in policy, I think we have to, I think that we have to put the utmost of concern on our classroom sections in our K-5 buildings. And I think a class size of 18 versus a class size of 23 or 24 or 25 is a educational impact. And I think if we're making decisions based on, that fear, then that we're not displacing that equitably across the district, because we are opening new sections and seeing that impact. So if we're going to hire a 1.0 teacher, I would rather that teacher have their own classroom and their own section. I take real issue with that investment, and that we're obviously acknowledging that educationally it's an impact to go over class size cap. So we're trying to kind of run around the issue. So to me, we have to take a stand behind it and say, I support, I think the intent is to focus on that class size. And to me, I don't ever want to see any of our, other academic areas displaced, but I think we're already doing it. So I wouldn't want to prevent it.
Oh, Mrs. Rinaldi?
And so I agree, just following up on Mrs. Flynn's point too, I don't want to take away, the decision-making of central office and the superintendent. But that's why I thought of putting preferential language into creating a new section. Whether we need to define that language in a certain way, I think that's really important, because I do feel as though a large majority of the board does feel as though putting in a new section should be the preference. And I don't know if that's, something that we need to define. I'm fine working through that and, coming up with options for the policy committee, but I do want to just echo that as well. We need something of that sort.
Mr. Peterson?
Just to address that a little bit, I did prefer Ms. Rinaldi's preference comment in a way. I do think, though, and this kind of goes back to something that Mr. Krasnov said, I appreciate that we absolutely do want to solve space issues, but once we vote a policy in, that's the policy. So unless we want to incorporate something in the language of the policy saying beginning school year 26, 27 or something like that, and I think, again, my sense is the board kind of wants to address this issue now. I hate to put things back on the policy committee, but like the wordsmithing is hard. And I've spent a couple of years on that committee, and I know how difficult that can be, and I do think that we need to be precise where we can. I think we can express, a general intention of the board, and that, should direct the superintendent when choices are made about that. But we do need to be very careful about how we do word things and think about consequences further out.
Mrs. Maxon-Kennelly?
Yeah, and to Mr. Peterson's point and following up on Mr. Krasnoff's point about if we reach that point that you're hoping, that when the superintendent brings it back to the board, the superintendent doesn't bring it back to the board. We will have voted on a policy. The superintendent will have marching orders. Art will be put on a cart, or music will be put into a cafeteria. It doesn't come back to the board. And that's where the wordsmithing and the specificity of our language and the language choices we make are so hard and are so important, and why we spend a great deal of time in policy on the hypotheticals. Well, but what if this, what if that? Because that's how we test the language. So I just wanted to be clear about expectations. Once we pass this, it gets implemented. It will not come back to the board unless it is with staff coming to us saying, we need to recommend language changes, there are problems. But, to the space issues.
I completely get that, but again, we're all sitting up here acknowledging that there are space issues, and I think that's part of the conversation. If we're going to write a policy about class sizes, we need to acknowledge the space as well. The timing to me is tough. I've been also staring at this, trying to figure out how to do this with some of the other conversations we are going to have about space and facilities. And, I almost wish we would have that conversation first and this second. I just think it makes a lot of sense. But I also don't want to hold up the work that the policy committee has and continues to do, because it is great and it is needed. So thank you.
Mr. Lee?
I do think, listening, and I think we're all in agreement, but we have to be realistic too and set expectations as we've been hearing tonight. We do have a space issue, but it's not going to be solved tomorrow. It's not going to be solved next month. It's going to take a while to solve, right? And if we put this in order, I can see where it's going to be a problem. Well, where are you going to put them? At the end of the day, if that's the case, until we solve the space issue, is class size even brought up?
Should we allow a 27-kid class because we don't have space?
Please wait, just raise your hand, please. Thank you.
Going off of that, where are you going to put them? If you don't have space and you do this, there's no place to put them. You're going to put them in the parking lot next, or in a tent outside, and that's not what it's about, right? Realistically, we don't have space, and we have to set the expectation we won't have space for a while. And that's what we all have to realize. So I hear what you're saying, and I agree in the sense with Mr. Asis. The 2 weeks, I think it's difficult, and you do have two schools that are on a rolling basis are going to constantly be that, and we're going to have major issues. So I think we just need to realize the space issues is here. It's not going to be fixed in the near future. You'll have plans to fix it, but the physical space won't be here until the near future.
Anyone else? Mrs. Maxon-Kennelly, what will be helpful to you?
Okay, so first I'm going to tack on a number 6 right now, and let's just get this clear first. This was not a policy staff was looking for us to tackle. It initially came to us, they withdrew their recommendation of can we tackle this, and policy then just grabbed the bull by the horns and said, we're doing this now, we've always wanted to. More the fool us. But, so there is an option 6, which is if we want to just stick with the status quo as of now, which is our policy with numbers that we know are not the practice of the district, and leave everything to the discretion of district leadership. We don't have to do this if, in fact, there is an interest in the board in waiting until you have a future recommendation to a future board that we resolve some facility issues before we do this. That is an option, and I would like to address that first, because if there's an interest in just, let's not do this right now, I repeat, this was not something staff asked us to tackle. So if we could resolve that, then, Mrs. Jacobson, I would like to go through the 5 points.
Anyone have input on not doing this at this point or providing direction on what we would like to see happen as a policy? Mrs. Flynn.
I think my only overarching sentiment, and because of public comment and emails we've heard, I have real interest in making sure that sections are not collapsed after the first day of school. I think I've reiterated why, and I will do it till I'm blue in the face. But I think academically, I just don't want to see it going on in the district. But in terms of leaving this policy as is, I think we can do better, but I have real concerns about just the composite of this board in terms of these facilities conversations, if we can do it at this moment. So I submitted the amendment because I want to tackle it, but that was my best swing at it. So if 5 other board members aren't there, then we aren't there.
Mr. Lee.
I speak for myself, I'm sure I speak to my fellow board members. We do want to solve class size, right? But we don't have a facility plan to solve that problem yet. We had a facility plan ahead of us and what's going on, I would have no issue with what we can discuss. Until we come up with our facility plan, I think we really have to table this whole conversation until there's a plan that we can say, look, if this is the case at this school, we have that space for it.
So just going to do a point of clarification. We're not, at this point, what we've brought forth is not to change the current actual guidelines. It's to actually just do what we're already doing. So I don't think that invokes the plan. I think that was if we needed to create more sections, if we were lowering the class sizes, and forgive me if I'm misspeaking, but the space issue is more about lowering class sizes, which I think some of us would like to do as well, and also splitting at either before and after school starts, and the need for additional sections, where in some schools that would be a challenge to accomplish. So just to clarify, in this draft so far, it's just to cement what we already are doing. Sorry, did you have follow-up?
Can I follow up?
Yeah.
And just a little bit of clarification, the more we spoke about this policy, the more it almost turned into a conversation about hiring practices. And the more I really appreciated Mr. Tastani, in the policy committee, bringing that, a para, well, we know how valuable our paras are, that if we're really over cap, we need a 1.0 teacher. And in hearing that and hearing, they're concerned about quality staff during the school year and reading other local policies, I thought, why not try and be proactive for our staff? Now, I don't know what that means. Once again, the wordsmithing, is that at cap grade level? Is that one below? Do we have something preferential for our schools that we see with higher rates throughout the year? I am not positive. Like I said, I took a swing at it, but I think my intent really, funny enough, we started at class size and I kind of got to a conversation about when is the best time to hire teachers. So I just wanted to put that out there as well.
Mr. Krasnov, did you have your hand up?
I was just saying, I think the two kind of go hand in hand, so I don't want to push it aside. I know we're developing our long-term facilities plan document, which we are going to be discussing in some future board meetings coming up. I don't see why we can't be working on this at the same time. Thank you.
You know my thoughts, Mrs. Maxon-Kennelly, through many a meeting. So, is there anyone else? Mrs. Rinaldi?
I would prefer to keep moving forward. I mean, this is moving along, and just to drop it now, I would feel very, disheartened. So I would really like to move forward and continue working on the language and helping you out in any way possible, and you delineating to us what you need from us.
Okay, so my sense overall is that we're moving forward. I'm not getting a sense of the body. I'm not getting a sense of 5 people saying, stop what you're doing. So with that said, all right, I'm going to try to pick off easier ones. I'm going to start with number 5. And so it was kind of a choice of 3 kind of language choices for number 5, and that's regarding the allocation of the 1.0 FTE para, who is in place until a 1.0 FTE certified teacher is hired. We basically have 3 choices: dedicated exclusively to the classroom that has gone over cap, completely at the discretion of administration, or we had a 3rd phrasing talked about in policy, which is primarily dedicated to the classroom over cap.
Just going to follow up. I think the second option was dedicated to the class level.
What did I say?
You said completely at superintendent's discretion.
Sorry, correct. To the grade level.
Right.
Right. So I'm kind of hoping we can do this one with minimal discussion. It's 3 choices. So is it possible to just, do I do a show of hands? Do we just go around and speak to it?
If anyone has, do you just want to take a sense on the body?
Yeah.
Because I think we've discussed some of that already. So,
Yes.
This, of course, does not lock anyone into anything in the future when it comes out. This is just to give us some guidelines to work on as we take it back to policy. So if you vote or say that you have a consensus tonight and we bring it back, things could totally change. So just
Absolutely.
understand that if you're providing the consensus now, things can change. So consensus, your number one on the dedicated FTE would be to just the class section alone. Who would prefer at this point to see that? That's overcap, the one that's totally exclusively dedicated to the one overcap. Okay, Mr. Lee and Mrs. Rinaldi. Okay. Exclusively to the grade level as a whole. Okay, Mrs. Maxon-Canay, so there's two. And then the third option is primarily dedicated to that class that is overcap, but then when appropriate, there's time available to use elsewhere to the grade level. And 4.
Okay, thank you. So now I don't think there's anyone that's necessarily any easier than others, so I'll go with just 1, 2, 3. The collapsing of sections. One thing I want to make people aware of that can be part of the motivation for a collapse is, and if we have not made very clear the extensive discussion we've had on hiring difficulties, then shame on us for not making that very, very clear to the board. And actually, I think this is an important, it's true for all 1, 2, and 3, and I just would like to give our superintendent a moment. If you could please describe exactly what the hiring scene is out there, and I'll say, especially with Fairfield County, I don't expect you to be able to speak to the state of Connecticut, but the hiring pool in general, and then specifically the hiring pool as of 2 weeks to go in the month of August, 2 weeks before the start of school.
Well, I think it's become more of a challenge just in hiring in general. I think all across the state, not just Fairfield County. I can speak from personal experience. When you get 2 weeks before the start of the school year, the talent pool at that point is very, very, very narrow, and I'm being nice in saying that. Unless someone is looking to leave a district to come to another district, which again, that could be a possibility, but that would also trigger a 30-day stay in their current district, which would mean that we would not see that individual till late September, possibly early October, based on interviews, recs to hire and all, just the process that it takes in onboarding and everything else. But once you're in the middle of August to the start of the school year, it's slim pickings.
Okay, thank you. And so it was in the vein of that discussion that one of the benefits of collapsing, maybe perhaps the only there are two key benefits to collapsing to consider. One is the financial. That can be a savings of anywhere from $80,000 to $120,000 plus when you include benefits. But second, when you collapse a section, it means we have just freed up an FTE. That situation has happened when we have, at the same time, a need for an expansion. And now we've got a seamless transition over, and that having that option available to our superintendent is something we discussed in policy. I think we also, correct me if I'm wrong in our own policy vote, we were only in favor of allowing the collapsing up to the day after the first day of school. Am I correct? The end of the first day. So up until that point was what we ultimately arrived at in policy. And again, those were some of the things that kept us from stopping it sooner. But that said, point number 1, the timing of possible collapsing of sections, need to know where the board stands.
So I believe we don't really have definitive options, Mrs. Maxon-Canay, so I'll say before school, first day, after first day.
Perfect.
As a general guideline, if that works for everyone. So before school begins, at the end of the first day as we have it, or sometime even after school starts.
And I think probably what that third option would be captured under is the idea of the superintendent's discretion. That can be what we also cover. So collapsing appeared in 2 ways in this way. So
can I just ask a clarifying question? That wouldn't mean like in November, like
I
someone
don't think
moves
that
out.
would
Right. Okay.
ever
So just
be
to,
our intent.
Right. Okay.
We mean,
Oh,
yeah,
please don't call out. Please raise your hand. I will call you, Mr. Lee.
the before school, are we still talking the 2-week window or anytime?
Well, here's one thing, and I will share with you that I shared this idea informally with the superintendent, but I'll say it out now. I think one thing that might be a potential good practice would be if we are getting very close, we might need to not be talking about who is getting what teacher. If you have four sections, and they're all one away from a collapse, one away from an expansion, that might be a time to not start the beehive of activity of who'd you get, who'd you get, who'd you get. And I know people love it. It's an important part, but there have to be some trade-offs here. And if it is going to be such a traumatic experience, one way you avoid it is you stop the community from forming early. If we know that such a collapse could be imminent or such an expansion could be imminent, it's something that I think I would recommend that staff consider that if we're going to posit that this is such a tough thing on children whom we are trying to teach resilience to, then that's something we need to consider as a recommendation going forward.
Mr. Krasnoff.
I just need some clarity on a collapse, because if I do the math in terms of a collapse, we would have to have like 11 kids in each class.
No.
Is that correct?
No.
So how many kids would be in the class in order to collapse it?
So for example, we have the 2 Dwight sections right now of kindergarten that are 13 each.
Oh, so you're going to make it a 26-person class?
No.
Okay.
We wouldn't do that because that's over the class size. We could only do it that it brought it down to the class size. So that if those 2 sections of 13 became a section of 13 and 10, that's a collapse.
Like I said, so there'd have to be 2 classes of 11.
That would be a class of 11 and 12.
I'm against collapsing altogether.
Okay.
Can that be an option added, please?
No collapsing ever? You mean,
Not with our current class size, it just doesn't make sense.
outside of the budget sections? Because we've already adopted.
Because we would already have a 21 class, not 2 11 classes. Like, I just don't see where it would make sense to do it without making a judgment call, because it's really close. And if you add a student or 2, it's going to throw it all
Let's say,
off.
for example, you had a 70-student enrollment.
Yep.
So you were going to have 4 sections.
Yep.
Right? Because 23 is 69, right? And 2 students move out. Now you can go.
Good.
You can collapse.
Hypothetically, yes.
That's the hypothetical.
And then if
That
you
does. It's not even a hypothetical. It
It's the
happens.
practice.
And then,
Yes.
and then if a student or 2 comes during the year, you're back where you should have been in the first place. So I just don't think collapse makes
Possibility
sense.
as well.
I
Okay.
don't think collapse makes sense.
Mrs. Flynn.
I just want to get a clarifying question because my memory may be off, but as a current elementary school parent, I believe we only found out teachers maybe 2 days before school. So I'm just speaking from personal, so I just want to, yeah, so I just think that that's a good thing to clarify too, and I would assume that that is because we have schools that are grappling with larger sections that are being looked at later in the, so our schools that we're seeing going over cap, I assume that that's why those schools may be hearing later, but I think it's good to kind of displace that, at least in my experience and many that I know at certain schools that are going over cap more regularly, we are not finding out teachers. It's very close to the start of school, so I just think that that's important to clarify.
Okay, so I need to hear about the timing of collapsing.
I don't want to collapse after the first day of school. I want to collapse,
the first day of
including the first day. So I want any decisions on collapse made prior to the first day of school.
Okay. All right, I am. So Mr. Krasnoff is against collapsing at all at any time. Mr. Lee,
I'm for it.
up to, before, during, after?
Before, because I think if you.
Before school starts.
Before school starts.
Okay, not after. Okay. Mrs. Rinaldi? Anyone? Mr. Peters, sorry, you didn't.
I agree with the before as well, so.
So no collapsing after the day prior to the first day of school?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Superintendent's discretion.
Okay. Mr. Issa?
I'm at the superintendent's discretion.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Discretion.
Okay.
And one other argument I just have, and I'm fine, that's how we're going. Part of the issue we have, and this is a statement of fact, it is playing into some games. And those games, which have happened, this is a statement of fact, of neighbors encouraging neighbors, keep your kids on the books so we can add a section, and then just don't show up. I am not saying that as a hypothetical. And so when you have this before school starts, before staff has seen who has shown up and has seen, oh, so this is what we actually have. We in fact don't have 76 triggering 4 sections. We have 74. That is one of the issues of why I had been in favor of at least have it go to the first day of school so that we can see the bodies in the chair and staff would know who to make phone calls to. And I apologize, I was remiss, I should have said that earlier, but that is a very real concern because that is a very real occurrence.
Okay, so we have that consensus. Did you want to bring up, which one number do you want to go up to next?
Number 2. And I want to emphasize that for number 2, it is talking about, we had, the 2 different amendments we'd had to this topic were regarding not yet at the limit, and the second amendment was at the limit. So those are 2 separate issues. What they both had in common was the 2-week, there being a commitment made 2 weeks prior to the start of school. So there's really 2 things to wrestle with here. Are we interested in doing this 2 weeks prior to school or 1 week prior to school at all, this commitment to a hire? And if the board is yes in favor of making that commitment, is it when we are at the grade level cap or even below the grade level cap? So those are 2 things to decide with number 2. Sorry?
So I'm for at the grade level cap, and I say a week before. So my preference is based on a situation at Holland Hill where my daughter was one of the students that was expanded out with a new teacher who has been wonderful, and she knew who she thought her teacher was, and then one new student entered the first grade and they created a new section, and it has worked out tremendously well, and it happened 3 days before the start of school. So I'm comfortable with having it be a week versus 2 weeks.
If I can just follow up, just to be clear. So this would be at cap, not over limit, because what you're describing is that 3 days prior, the cap was exceeded and thus a new section was made. So you are in favor of, I mean, because obviously 3 days in advance, it is the district practice to expand at that point. You're saying that up to 1 week prior, even at the cap, not over the cap, go ahead and expand. I just want to make sure I'm clear.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm just going to, can I follow up on that? I think part of the issue with going earlier than the 1 week and going back even when I ever asked for the data 3 weeks before school started was to address some of the hiring issues that we heard about in terms of being able to find someone on that short of a notice. So that was just some of the thinking around going earlier, just not because of the hiring piece, that's all.
I guess too, I just didn't want to get so specific, but there was a wonderful teacher hired that is now my daughter's first grade teacher that was hired 3 days before. So, I mean, she's done wonderfully well. She's taught my daughter to read. So, I guess that's a little bit difficult for me to completely swallow.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Flynn?
Wait, could we just go down?
Oh, sure. Mr. Peter, I'm not going to call on people unless they have their hand up, but I'm making them speak.
It's 2 points.
Yeah.
I'm generally in favor of superintendent's discretion, even in this case. Obviously, I don't want to go too far into the year, but I don't think there's an algorithm for this. I don't think that we can predict where things are going to go, and that's why we need to have the superintendent make those choices. Sometimes they're difficult choices, and I respect the desire to want to get ahead of them, but if the data is not there, that's why I want the superintendent to make these decisions.
Mr. Issa?
I'm in general agreement with Mr. Peterson here, and one thing we're not talking about is the budget implications of this. And I understand that these are students and this is education, but we do have a budget, and we are in a year where we don't have surplus. And the superintendent and the administration and the staff are doing a phenomenal job trying to get us to balance out. But I think it's a real thing that we should be considering.
I'm just going to follow up on that, Mr. Issa, and partly because we did do a lot of hiring this year outside of the budget, so hence the hiring was possible. Anyone? Who's
Are we going in order? Or?
Sure, Mrs. Flynn?
In terms of how far in advance, like I said, I teed up and did a swing at it. I said 2 weeks because I look at models in the area. I tried to get ahead of the hiring process. I'll reiterate what Ms. Jacobson said. We heard during our budget process that 22 positions, I believe, were hired throughout the year, seemingly without issue. So I take real issue with that being used to not expand class sizes when it's our policy, and now we're enshrining in policy that we're going to hire a teacher anyway. So open the section.
Mr. Lee?
I'm for it. In this case, superintendent's.
Hold on, I apologize. Ms. Flynn, so 2 points. The timing of when the hiring happens and at what point. I'm assuming you're sticking with your amendment language, but I still want to be specific.
I'll stick with my amendment, but I said in the policy committee meeting, and I'll reiterate it here for the public, that if the superintendent would like more discretion and more time, I would happily be amenable to that. We already see that we have class sizes at cap, and if we have a building that thinks that they know they're going to go over cap, I would like to give our superintendent the discretion to open a section.
Mr. Krasnov, did you have your hand up? Or sorry, Mr. Lee?
In this case, I agree with Mr. Peters, Mr. Asa says, superintendent discretion in this case.
I will stick with my amendment. I still do feel there should be 2-week notice, and I do feel 2 within the grade level cap is the appropriate number. I did extensive research of local policies that have worked. This is our version of it. I also feel the most important hire we could ever make is a teacher. So I'd rather see a proper teacher hired for a classroom than just put it up to whatever the superintendent decides. I'm not saying Mr. Testani himself would make a decision that I don't agree with, but this is a policy that's written in stone, and I don't know whoever in the future could be making that decision.
I missed. Are you at cap, or are you staying with your original suggestion of 2, once we reach 2 below cap, we expand?
I'm willing to compromise on that, but I feel it should be below cap. Whether it's 1, 2, 3, to me, I'm willing to compromise on the number. I just feel going right at cap is, we might as well just open the section anyway. If it's within 1, we look at the analytics in all the schools. As you said, we don't really, some people said we don't really have analytics. Well, we do have trends, and the trends in the schools that tend to be at cap tend to add students as the school year goes on. So I think we're setting ourselves up for the situation that we're trying to prevent with this policy.
You and I can wrestle in policy, Mrs. Jacobson?
That's right.
Okay. Number 3. This is now past the start of school. Language right now, we'll be looking at number 5, that when we're talking about October, November, or, at what point where we are going to get support staff, that's something the policy is committing to, but at what point do we actually commit to an expansion after the first day of class?
Mr. Krasnov?
My hope is if we're proactive with the...
Mr. Krasnov. We are three below cap on the first day of school. And suddenly we have quadruplets move into town.
At that point, it would be a superintendent's discretion, but I do think we should, again, put a stopgap in place to prevent that. I'd rather hire a teacher than a para all day long.
At that
Well,
point.
no. I want to be very clear. That para is only because we're acknowledging that it might take 30 days to get someone in. The para was never suggested as the long-term suggestion. Actually, originally it was, and Mr. Testani is the one who suggested, let's go for the FTE, to whom we could make so much outstanding use, and we love that idea. So just to be clear, that para is only because we acknowledge we need help in that classroom. We're going for the FTE. The certified teacher, we just don't know how long it will take. So that's a firm commitment. It is, when do we commit an expansion must happen? That's what number 3 is about.
Are you going to write what you just said into the policy, though? Because you said policy is
Right
what
now,
it is.
the
So that's
langu-
going to go into the policy, added to the
So that was one of the things we wrestled over. We initially started with a 10-day suggestion of language. That got cut to 3, and then we ended up going to superintendent discretion and the language in the policy that's before you that we voted out of policy should have been subsequent to, not at the first day of school, but subsequent to the first day. Day 2 to day 182, it's superintendent discretion, but where there is not discretion, once again, is that if it goes over cap, there is going to be another body put in that grade level. So I repeat, what we're looking for now with number 3 is at what point is it a no discretion, we're expanding.
So just I want to clarify, Ms. Kelly, if you don't mind. Right now, what is proposed before you is that the first day of school counts. 25, 25, 25, first day of school, 26 moves in. What is in the policy is it's a split. The next day, if that moved in, it would not be.
Automatic.
Automatic, correct. Mrs. Lynn.
I'll just reiterate what I proposed in policy, that I wanted to see 7 calendar days inclusive of the first day of school and excluding any holidays. I figured that gave about a week, although I will state again that it hurts my heart, the idea of hiring a 1.0 K through 5 teacher in September and seeing class sizes of 23 or 25.
So a week.
A week, inclusive of the first day of school and excluding any holidays.
Going that way. Mr. Krasnoff has not answered.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
A week.
Sure.
Mr. Lee.
I'm for the discrepancy of the superintendent. We don't have space, period. So that's what you have to realistically look at.
In a lot of schools, okay. Yeah, that's, in some schools, I would agree with you. Mrs. Rinaldi?
So I guess, I can see the point of the discretion of the superintendent, but the discretion of the superintendent should be some of the subjective views of the board as well. So that is why I do want to put some data around it, just so he does know where we stand, because when he is making those decisions. So that is why I am thinking numbers. So I am fine with the 7 business days.
7 business days, so that
Well,
would be almost 10.
It's Mrs. Flynn's. I guess that's how I.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
visualize it,
Excluding the holiday.
7 business days.
Understood.
And I do, because again, this is something we talked about in policy. I just want to make sure everyone's clear on what that will look like. You have 3 sections, all 25 or whatever they are. Within those 7 days, it hits 26. With this 7 days, there is no superintendent discretion. That immediately triggers a new section for whom we have no teacher, which means it could be a substitute for a month.
Again, goes back to what I was saying before of the 2 weeks.
No, these are 2 separate things. I completely agree. No, Mr. Krasnoff, I absolutely acknowledge your point. But I'm going to go back to the quadruplets example then, of this didn't fit into the 2-week window. There wasn't another section triggered. The triggering does not happen until the 7-day window. And I want to be clear, it's not that I'm trying to talk anybody out of where they're feeling. I'm here to collect the data. It's that's the reality that we've been talking about in policy. It's why this thing took so long. So just to be clear, it's your child in that class with a sub for a month. That might be a little provocative on my part.
Yeah.
I acknowledge that. But it's a reality, and if you don't grapple with that and you go ahead with the policy without acknowledging that, I do think that would be remiss on our part.
I'm just going to follow up on that, Mrs. Maxon-Kennelly, because there are a lot of people on maternity leave and who have long-term subs and don't necessarily want to just say that all long-term subs are subpar in some sense, just because a lot of our kids do experience that for many months when their teachers are out. But
Very true.
Yeah, Mr. Peterson.
Not to be a broken record, but I'm generally in favor of superintendent's discretion in cases like this. I just, again, I think that case by case is a reasonable way to approach this, especially since the superintendent is the one who knows the facility's constraints and the hiring background. I see no reason not to leave it in his hands.
So can I just clarify, Mr. Peterson, from you, though? In the draft policy that we have is after the end of the first day of school. Is that not? I know Mrs. Maxon-Kennelly is asking after that
the
point.
first day of school is suboptimal, but if it's necessary, I leave that to the superintendent's discretion.
Okay. Same with Mr. Asa. Okay. Okay.
I do just want to reiterate the point that I trust Superintendent Testani's judgment, but there could come a situation where there is someone different in that role. Hence why I do want to delineate in policy some guardrails to things that I've seen. So I do just want to, I'm usually all for giving full discretion to central office. You guys are brilliant. In this case, my gut and heart is saying that we do need to delineate and have specifics in this policy.
In case anyone hadn't guessed, I was the 10-day person after school starts, so that's where we started as a throw-out start, and then we started getting some data around that, which was very helpful as well. So, next, Mrs. Maxon-Kennelly.
Yeah, I don't think we need to do number 4. I think unless somebody has a new point to raise about that, I think we're obviously have been in favor of aspects of discretion for whomever is the superintendent. I'm not sure if someone can think of an area we have not covered that you would explicitly like to point to. We want this up to superintendent's discretion. I just can't think of something we haven't covered yet. Okay. Thank you. And I just want to end. First of all, thank you for the discussion. I think it's very helpful. I think we have a path forward. I do want to remind everyone that change of heart, you have a discussion, you learn something new, you see some data that changes your mind. Whatever we do in our next policy committee is not to make anyone feel bound by the sense of the body we took here today. You are still welcome to bring amendments forward. And if you have ideas you'd like policy to consider, I would certainly be happy to collect those and disseminate them to the policy committee members for our discussion. I mean that quite sincerely, and we'll get back to work, I should say.
So we do have a vote to take on the motion on the table to postpone this until the policy committee brings it back to the board under its original proposal or under a revised first read. So all in favor of the postponement? Oh, sorry. Members of the public comment? Back to the board. Motion passes unanimously 8-0. Thank you. Thank you for the conversation, everyone. Approval of grades 6 to 8 ELA English Language Arts Curriculum. Recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the grades 6 to 8 English Language Arts Curriculum. Can I get a motion, please? Mrs. Flynn, seconded by Mrs. Maxon-Kennelly. Any discussion? Questions? Mrs. Maxon-Kennelly.
I just want to thank staff very profoundly for addressing first of all, for taking this back. I have no doubt that staff, who wants to revisit an arduous task and such a massive project twice in 1 year, as our middle school staff members did, and for all those members of other departments who could readily have said, that's not our not our field, why are you involving us in this? And yet everyone engaged in it. I'm going to have this image of them all engaging in a delightful conversation, thoroughly enjoying engaging with the ELA curriculum. But then all of that work, and for the vastly, in my opinion, improved product that came before us to serve our students, and then personally to have all of my questions answered, a very sincere thank you. I'm most appreciative of your work.
Mr. Krasnoff.
I want to echo a lot of what Ms. Maxcanelli said. I want to thank your team and everyone that worked on this. This is something, as I said last meeting, we should all be proud of, and you guys did it, so thank you.
Public comment. I think I'll just do. Is that another Jeopardy song? I know. Gotta have a little fun up here. Can I get a drum roll, please? All in favor of the grade 6 to A ELA curriculum? Thank you very much. All in favor. Motion passes 8-0. Thank you very much.
I just want to say thank you to Janine and Julie for really leading this work and taking this on and taking all the feedback, going back and really producing a tremendous product. And would be remiss if I didn't mention James as well for spending hours and hours addressing all the questions, commas, spaces, and everything else. So it's really a testament to their hard work and their dedication to make sure that our kids get a high-quality teaching and learning experience when they come into our schools.
Thank you, Mr. Testani. All right. First read of the 2024-2025 budget adjustments, Mrs. Laborious. And there is a handout that accompanies this item. It's pretty simple. Really, but I'll let Mrs. Laborious walk us through.
Thank you, Ms. Jacobson. Thank you. Simply put, it's just to reflect the adjustment of $1,279,000 by the Board of Selectmen through the budget process to reflect the Connecticut Partnership Plan rate renewal of 2% from a budgeted 7%. The reduction passed through the Board of Finance and representative town leadership. The new board adopted budget would be $220,221,484, and the full reduction is being absorbed in the health insurance line. As discussed through the budget process, the reduction can be absorbed with no impact, given that the proposed rate renewal was reduced. So, thank you.
Any questions? Pretty straightforward. Mr. Peterson.
Hi, thank you. I just want to see if there's some way to quantify. There is some risk in terms of the mix of insurance elections in the next year, right? We've had some benefit recently as we've had kind of more single election than family election. Is there a sense of how much, if that swings back to a more expensive allocation next year, how much are we exposed?
It's a good question. So when we budget with the current active staff as they are, plus the additional the added staff. So this year, I think it was 12, that weren't active on board, additional staff. And it, when we look at the trends, we feel that this is the right budget for this point in time. I would say that there's always a risk, but I would say that I think we minimized the risk as much as we could. We didn't go all the way down to 2%. There's still a little small cushion in that budget, and we monitor it very closely. So every month we compare the bill with our enrollment to the budget, and we'll be able to address it in real time. So at this point, I wouldn't say it's a risk. I would say that it's something we'll monitor, though.
Great, thank you. And just one other comment for anyone from other town bodies watching. 2% is not going to be the pattern going forward. I feel fairly confident that in future budget plannings, we should not assume that this number is going to come in at 2% every year.
And I'll add to that, there are more municipalities who left the Connecticut Partnership Plan in recent years that are returning back next year that could drive up that cost again significantly. So.
I know we're going to vote on this next week. If you don't mind, I'm going to just change this motion, just for everyone's notice on the agenda next week, to either take out the word approved or adopted. I don't think we need both those words. Sorry, Mrs. Maxon-Kennelly.
I apologize. I just wanted to clarify one point through the chair to Mr. Tassani. I thought the larger the critical mass, that generally it improved a more favorable outlook.
So that's what you would normally think, but there was, and the drop was attributed to a large number of Fairfield County districts leaving the plan because of the cost of healthcare in this end of the state is so high, it drove up the payouts. So by them leaving, it helped reduce the cost. So with them jumping back in, I would tend to think that we're going to see the trend go the other way again.
Okay, and just while we have you here on 24, 25, if you don't mind, whichever one you don't, I don't think we need approved and adopted, so I'll probably take out one of the two.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd take out approved.
Approved, okay, and put in adopted. Okay, sure, no problem. And then just while we're here, and before next week, maybe something will come up, but is there anything else going on with 24, 25? I know there was some concern about substitute, long-term subs and stuff like that this year, but anything that the board should be aware of since we voted and since the town boards voted that you guys know about?
Well, I think if the trend continues, we talked about this earlier today, that next year we're going to have to significantly increase our substitute line to cover for the increased in daily absence costs. Again, it's a testament to how hard our HR department works in filling the daily absences. We have a fill rate at almost 80%, but with the number that is every day, it drives up cost. So we're going to watch that very closely from the beginning of the year to see if we need to have some difficult conversations. Maybe we need to offer some support to staff. But I think next year we're going to have to think about increasing that subline budget by at least 50% if trends continue.
Okay. Any questions on this motion, this first read, Mr. Lee?
Just going off that, did you say 15 or 50?
50.
Anyone else? Mr. Issa?
Yeah, sorry, I'm not following that. Sorry.
Well,
what's driving a 50%? Are we talking about increasing what we're paying them, or
No.
increasing the number needed?
The number, the dollar amount needed to cover the cost of daily substitutes.
Because we feel that we will be having a higher fill rate and more absences.
Well, the last 2 years have proven to be an increase in teacher absences at a much higher rate than prior years. So if that trend continues, we'll watch it at the first part of the year. Then when we present the budget, we will increase that number if we're seeing the same thing that we saw the last 2 years.
And that includes long-term and daily?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Lee?
The last 2 years, is it because the CDC recommended that you stay out for a week if you got sick?
There's no recommendation this year if you don't feel well, when you feel better, come back. So I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think just, I have some theories on it, but we could probably have that discussion.
Just wanted to see if there was anything, that I knew about the long-term stuff because that was part of the deficiencies for this year that we were seeing. So, but just wanted to check if there was anything else before we voted on this for next year.
No, that's all. And it wouldn't require transfer per se because it would be within the personnel line.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as we know the budget right now, yeah, we're solid going forward for 24, 25.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the update. We will vote on that at the next meeting. All right. Almost done here. Facilities and summer maintenance projects, just update from Mr. Papa George.
Good evening, everyone. How's that? A little better. So just as an update, as you all know, you just heard the budget was approved. We have 3 projects moving forwards that will be starting very shortly for this summer. That was the 2 security upgrade projects at the 2 high schools and the baseball field upgrade at Ward High School. Those are the 3 projects that were in the budget and approved. We also have continuing this summer the HVAC renovation projects at the 3 schools, North Stratfield, Osborne, and Fairfield Woods. Those projects are underway, as you all know. Ceilings have been removed. Prep work has been started so that they can start the day after school gets out and move forwards. Additionally, we have some roofs being done this year. We have partial roof at North Stratfield. It's only partial because it's going to coincide with the AC projects, and then the partial roof at Holland Hill will be the last part of the roof that's outdated and will be brought up to code and back into a life of warranty. Additionally, we were approved the funding for the additional costs needed to move forwards with the Ledlow High School bathroom renovation project that will be starting as soon as school is out because of some mediation that will be needed to be done. We will be off limiting that school for the month of July moving forwards until the remediation is done there. Let's see, I'm trying to go through budgets in my head. I was asked to hurry up, so. That's it. We will give you, we will do the normal layout sheet that we've done in the past for you. If there's any end of year funding, we will incorporate that into our end of year projects as well. Right now we're holding on paving because we did so much paving the last couple of years. We're trying to get back into the old trend where we don't do it every other year, but we do it at the end of one year and beginning of the next, and then we skip so that we can combine the first year and the second year budget to get more paving done with the higher budget from end of year and beginning of the following year. We do have a very immense painting list that we pass around and keep with the schools. The principals every year submit, and it gets put on the list, and as funding is available, we pick off of the list and keep moving forwards with that. So that's really our projects, other than our standard cleaning, trimming, other projects like that. One last thing I wanted to mention going into this summer, and we're going to discuss it in more detail tomorrow with the facilities committee. However, we do have a project that as you all know, we replaced the boilers at Burr, and I apologize, I missed the Sherman boiler is also on the project list for this year. However, the Burr boiler project, when it went out to bid, came in significantly under budget for what we anticipated for the project. That being said, we had some conversations with the town, and there's some funding available, and we may be going before you and the town bodies to ask to reallocate that funding to a controls project at the Burr Elementary School. We are continuing to have ongoing issues with the cooling and heating in that building. It is a fully glass building, as you know, so we get hot days. Even in the middle of a winter with the sun, we can get extremely hot temperatures in the classrooms. So we're looking at possibly using some of the additional funding, which has already been bonded by the town, so we're not going back and asking for additional funding. We're just asking to reallocate the approved funding already.
I think that you failed to mention, because I know Mr. Hatzis may be listening, the lighting project in the Fairfield Ludlow High School auditorium as well.
It is, yes, I apologize. That was last year's budgeted item, well, this year's budgeted item. So parts have arrived at the warehouse now, and we will be starting that project as soon as school is out.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, just if you could clarify for the sites that you mentioned, what will be public access to them? I mean, obviously camps, people are aware of the camp locations, but in terms of getting to Ward Track or using the fields, any access to the Holland Hill fields, I don't know what will be taken up by equipment, what's going to be blocked. I was wondering if you could speak to that.
So the outside field area is really Ledlow High School is going to be the blocked off field because of the remediation going on there. As for internal camps, Ledlow High School, the turf field, will be off limits for July because of remediation inside the building. Other than that, the other schools that I mentioned, North Stratfield, Woods, Osborne, not Sherman, Holland Hill, those are all off internal because of the work being done there. So public will still have access to around the fields and the playgrounds in that area, but internal camps will not happen at those buildings.
Thank you, Mr. Papageorge. Okay, approval of minutes. That the Board of Education approve the May 7, 2024 BOE regular meeting minutes. Can I get a motion, please? Mrs. Rinaldi, seconded by Mr. Asa. All in favor? Hmm? On the minutes? No. All in favor? Mr. Krasnoff? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, superintendent's report.
Thank you. I have a few items here. Yesterday, as everyone knows, the rain didn't stop our highly motivated and dedicated students from marching in the Memorial Day Parade here in town to honor and remember those who died in service to our nation. Thank you to all the staff who worked to ensure that over 400 students would be prepared for anything, and they were. So congratulations to them, and thank you. Also pleased to share that Fairfield Ludlow High School student Allison Rowland has won first place in the 2024 Congressional Art Competition representing the 4th District. Allison's art titled Unnatural Habitat will be displayed for 1 year at the United States Capitol alongside artwork from every congressional district across the country. This is the 2nd year in a row that a Fairfield student artist has won first place in the Congressional Art Competition. I want to give a big thank you to Ludlow art teacher Joanna Estevez for supporting Allison throughout the process. 2 Fairfield Ward educators were honored by the Connecticut Council for Social Studies, Allison Norrie and Elizabeth Muller, for their recent recognition. I want to congratulate them by this Connecticut Council for Social Studies. Ms. Norrie received the Special Programs Award, and Ms. Muller was honored with the Excellence in Social Studies Education Award. Last month, the Best Buddies Club held its largest event, the Friendship Walk. From Friendsgiving to baseball, bowling, and a variety of other events, this group has truly formed meaningful friendships. Best Buddies provide students with and without disabilities the opportunity to connect and impact their community in a positive way. I'd like to remind everyone and invite you all on June 1st from 9 to 2 p.m. this Saturday in the wood shop in the back of Fairfield Ward High School. They will have their 29th annual Ward Wood Show. It will showcase projects made by students at the high school. A variety of high-quality pieces will be for sale, including pens, rolling pins, cutting boards, epoxy coasters, wine stands, and wine caddies. So please come out. If you don't want to purchase anything, just support and take a look at the amazing items. I went last year. It was incredibly well done. Thank you to our chair, Ms. Jacobson, for attending with me the Rotary Club of Fairfield. It's Recognition Day to honor the top 40, 10 at each of the 4 high schools located in Fairfield who received high honors in the area of academics during their high school careers. It was a great event, great luncheon. Thank you for supporting that as well. I want to congratulate, big congratulations to Walter Fitzgerald campus educator Tricia Pitko. Ms. Pitko was selected as a Connecticut Science Teacher Association Babu George STEM winner. This award honors teachers who spearheaded major STEM projects within their school district or the state. So big shout out to Ms. Pitko for her hard work. We had Ward DECA students return from their International Career Development Conference in Anaheim, California. The group demonstrated exceptional professionalism and responsibility throughout the conference, embracing every learning opportunity that came their way. Special thank you to Ms. Soro and Ms. Terwilliger for their dedication and support. We'll be recognizing later in another meeting, but I want to congratulate the Fairfield Ludlow High School softball team for winning its 4th straight FCAC championship last week, and good luck as they began their journey on a repeat of the Class LL State Championship. They won today 5-0, so they move on to the 2nd round. And lastly, I just want to share with the board that on May 7th, McKinley School received a visit from the Superintendent's Network that's based out of the former Connecticut's Center for School Change. As a member of the Superintendent's Network, we choose places to visit every other month to do instructional rounds. So I offered, and they accepted. First time they visited Fairfield in over a decade. Just to give you a little understanding, the group comes, we had 8 superintendents participate along with the staff. It was a great opportunity since we have new leadership in the building to provide a framework for known components of effective schools. The visit consisted of classroom observations, teacher focus groups, student focus groups, and data review. So it was a great visit. We got some really strong feedback from top educators, leaders across the state here. So great job, and thank you to McKinley for opening its doors and allowing the group to come in and visit and observe the daily instructional practices at McKinley School. And last but not least, yep, Connecticut State Department of Ed has confirmed that we do not have to present an amended plan for racial imbalance next month. So that has been confirmed with the commissioner. So I'm excited that we have a year, and hopefully during the next 12 months we can see an end to this outdated legislative law that sits on the books.
Okay, thank you. And with that, any committee reports? Mr. Lee?
Just real quick, Mr. Papa George stole some of my thunder. So with SEPTA, they have their last SEPTA meeting next Wednesday at the McKinley cafeteria.
Thank you. Mrs. Lynn?
On a similar note, the last meeting of the Fairfield PTA Council will be next Thursday, June 6th, in the Board of Ed conference room at 7:30 p.m.
Okay. Mrs. Rinaldi?
Quick update from Board of Health. They are conducting a survey via phone. So if you receive a call from an 860-203 or 518 number, please pick it up. They will be leaving voice messages though too, and calling back at the same number. So it's from the Health Improvement Alliance, and this is ongoing. So they are trying to collect as much data as possible. It's a 10-minute survey, so try to answer if possible.
I just want to say last week we had the went for the Board of Finance for our Q3 finance update, and went very smoothly thanks to Mrs. Laborious, Superintendent Testani, and everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. And in facilities, tomorrow we will continue to work on our long-range facilities plan with some edits that we have to do and walk through. So that is happening tomorrow, and looking forward to bringing that back to the board in June. Next up, we have open board comment. Oh, sorry, Mr. Issa. Oh.
Oh, I thought you were away.
Okay, Mr. Issa.
Yeah, so I just wanted to give a shout out to a bunch of high school students. I happen to be involved with a PTA event for my kids' school, which was a large event, and volunteers were needed. And a call went out from the high school principals sharing the Sign Up Genius, and we had an overwhelming response from high school students. And my impetus was these kids probably need hours and things signed off, but I was blown away by how many kids showed up that just wanted to volunteer.
Is that on the carnival?
It happened to be the Riverfield Carnival, yes. So many kids showed up, and when asked, do you need proof, do you need anything signed, the overwhelming response was, we just wanted to come help and volunteer. And I just thought that was worth saying, because it's just a testament to so many of our students in this community, and we thank both high schools for that.
Mrs. Maxon Kennelly?
In Mr. Testani's list of our groups of students who deserve accolades, I just wanted to give my quick shout out to our two Fairfield teams that did go to Odyssey of the Mind Worlds. Got to deal with an Iowa tornado shelter-in-place warning. They've had quite an experience there, but they had a great experience, and I very much look forward to recruiting for next year's team. So congratulations to them on a great ending of their season.
Yes. Did you have something else?
That just triggered a memory of mine. June 8th, next Saturday, if anyone's available, and between 9 and 3:30, take a trip up to Gamble Pavilion in Stores for Invention Convention, the state display of all those great inventions and students. So if anyone wants to participate, everything's on display from 9 to 3:30 at Gamble Pavilion on the UConn campus.
All right, and with that, is there any public comment? I will entertain a motion to adjourn, please, at the regular meeting of the Board of Education. Adjourn. Motions made by Mr. Lee, seconded by Mr. Krasnoff. All in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.